Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thank you for joining us again this week. So today we are part 2 of our 2-part series on how to trust your estimates.
Yep.
Last week we talked about how to build pricing, how to ensure that you're accurate in your pricing
Some of the
models.
logistics of actually coming up with your numbers
That's
and
right.
trusting what your numbers actually are,
That's
that you
right.
can make enough, that you're making enough for your company to survive and be able to have capital to grow and all that stuff.
So you've put together the estimate. You feel you can trust these numbers. You send it over to the client. They say, let's go. Let's roll forward with this. Today, we're talking about how to protect yourself against the mistakes that you probably could have made when building an estimate. We all do at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And so how do we protect ourselves? How do we deal with that situation? How do we protect our money and reputation against errors that we might make or things that didn't make it onto the estimate? So
Yeah, well, and I mean, errors on estimates happen from multiple different areas, but a lot of it is from the necessity of speed.
Yep.
I'm just grinding through it. I'm trying to make it really fast, and I just get it in there and get it out. And a lot of times you just overlook something. You don't put something in there. But even one of our project managers, who's probably the best at accurate estimating of covering everything, not forgetting anything, he still makes mistakes. There's still things that happen that there's just no way around it, you know? And so here are a couple of things that can kind of help safeguard you even when there are mistakes on estimates.
All right. So the first thing that we want to start out with, it's going to be more broad, and then we're going to kind of narrow down to some cheats that you can do to make sure to protect yourself.
People have never heard of this before if they listen to the podcast.
The first thing, if you're a podcast listener, you're going to roll your eyes at, but it is protection starts with work orders and your client engagement agreement.
Yep.
We've said it 100 times, but we're going to talk about how it protects you once you send in an estimate that you might not have perfect numbers on, might have missed stuff on. First off, subcontractor onboarding conversation, right, Jared? Walk me through how you onboard a sub in a way that we're protecting ourselves from missing on an estimate.
Well, in a subcontractor onboarding meeting, we go through a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, the subcontractor agreement, but what is in the subcontractor agreement that pertains to this is the expectations around work orders. What happens if they do work that is not on the work order that they're expecting money for? If there's a dollar amount on it, that's what we're going to pay you. And if you're expecting to get a different amount, that's not going to happen because that's what the work order says. And so there's just having conversations with the subcontractors of, here's our process. I'm going to write down everything that I want you to do on the job site. And I'm going to put a price that we've either agreed to together or a price that I think that's fair to get this work done.
Yep.
Here's the responsibility on your side. If you start work on this job after I send the work order, to me, you're telling me you're okay with the price to execute all these line items. And if you're not, and we have verbiage in there of like, once you receive this work order, within 24 hours of looking at it, getting at it, we can go meet on site if we want. If you've got a problem with it, where there's clarity of a line item that doesn't make sense, there's something on there there's something missing that you think by doing X, Y, and Z, I've got to be able to do this thing too, and it's not on here. Or you paid me you're saying $3,000. This is really a $4,500 job, right? You can have that conversation, and I'm willing to process through that with you. But once we start work, that dollar amount is not going to change unless there is a change in the scope of work, right? And so there's just setting up clarity of when money, and this is where people get afraid when it comes to sending out your estimates and assigning people. Is the money going to change? Is the dollar amounts going to change? I've estimated that I'm going to make 30%, but if my guys come back and ended up charging me at the end of the job an extra $5,000 and I had to pay them, well, I paid over what my profit was to get it done. So having that work order as I've said in many podcasts before, I think there's 3 levels of accountability: accountability with the client, accountability with your subs, and accountability with yourself based on those 2 documents. So the work order creates that accountability of what's getting done and how much money is going to go out associated with that work, so it's protected.
Yeah. When we look at the biggest leaks in the bucket for contractors coming to us, when we're looking at their systems and how they work, it's a lot of times it's not apparent until you start getting into the nitty gritty and watching a job flow from the beginning to the end, because that's when you see the sub pay all of a sudden jump up a few times every other week. And it's like, what's going on? Well, I talked to my carpenter. He said it's gonna be around 5. He's just got finished and sent me an invoice for $6,800.
Right.
So you're eating that extra $1,800. Well, that's what it is. I had a little buffer in there of $500-$600. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
The problem is the vendor, the sub, is just as a blank check going out and doing the work and just telling you how much. Now they might need 68, but I have the conversation onboarding that vendor saying, listen, you need to be good enough at your job that you can look at a job and tell me how much it's going to cost me to do the work that's on your work order. If you don't have those skills, you shouldn't be working for me. Right. Because the same way that I'm not going to let you come back and say, Clark, I need $1,800 extra on this. If you get done in 2 days, I'm not going to say, well, I told you I'd give you $5,000, but I want to pay you $3,000 because you did it in 2 days.
Right.
Like, that's not fair.
Right.
Let's keep it fair both ways. If you bust your butt and get it done, I'm going to pay you the full amount. If you don't work hard, it takes you 3 extra days, you're getting paid the original agreed amount. That all makes sense sitting at the table with your sub, with your vendor in there. It's holding them to it along throughout the job.
Yeah. Well, and also, no matter if it's a good sub or a bad sub, they all know that at the end of the day, they've got you over a barrel if the work isn't done, and they're saying, if you want it done, I need extra money, right? And if there's no document, if there's nothing to kind of hold that level of accountability, then, the good guys are probably not going to try and take advantage of you, but the mediocre and bad ones are like, well, if you want this done, I'll get it done. You just got to pay me an extra $3,000.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I can't justify charging the client the extra money, but I got to choose reputation over money. Yeah. So
Well, and most guys go back to the client like, hey, we're just going to need $3,000 more. Now the client's pissed off. It just doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, they trusted, they had a budget. You just want free money now because you have me locked in this contract. It really feels like a bait and switch to the customer. Right. And to my vendors, if we're not paying them ahead of time, they can't have me over a barrel.
Right.
If I pay them weekly for the work they're completing that week after they complete it, I can say, hey, you can't hold me over a barrel. I got $3,000 left to pay you on the rest of this job. Either you do it for that, or I'm going to have someone else come in and finish it for that. But I'm not paying you $5,000 total. Right, and have those conversations.
Well, and that's the conversation that I've got into with a lot of my coaching clients. That in an effort of trying to be fair, and help their subs out, they just say, well, this guy, I pay him $2,000 a week, and I pay him $2,000 every week, and he's got $6,000 on a job, right? And the job goes 4 weeks long, and now he's $8,000 into it, and he's like, and so it's that thing of like, if you're paying in front of the work getting done, you get to a space where you're in trouble. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. You're going to have to cover it to get it done.
Right.
I think we're talking about this again when we're talking about protecting against mistakes, because this helps us. The front end conversation helps us twofold. Well, number one, it helps us regulate and maintain that every dollar that we're taking in and going out is what we expect and know. Number one, flat out, I'm not going to be losing money with that system.
Yep.
Number two, it protects both me and that vendor, because if that vendor needs $3,000 more to get the job done, awesome. That's not a problem. Let's just talk about it. Look at the job and say, Clark, you underbid this, man. What's going on? Well, tell me how I underbid it. Well, you have $3,000 for paint. I see $6,000 for this. I've got to do this. I'm going to be out here for this much time.
I got to go get scaffolding.
We got to prime. We got these tall ceilings. There's the smoker that was in here. So this, and this. So at that point, I could say, oh, wow, you're right. I'm not going to get someone else to do it. We're not talking a $500 variance. You want double the amount of money I got budgeted. I can then go back to my client and say, hey, listen, I was looking at the numbers all wrong when I built this estimate. First off, I'm so sorry. Second off, this estimate needs to go from what I originally scoped at $5,000. I actually need $9,000. Let me show you why. I didn't even think about this. I was just going off square footage. Now, I might feel a little, hat in hand, kind of foolish talking to the customer about that. I would much rather have that conversation up front and the customer say, oh, wow, well, then I might get another bid. Okay, great. I'd rather you get another bid than me charge you $5,000 and me pay my vendor $6,000.
Well, and based on the next document that we're going to, it says that if the variance of the estimate changes by a certain percentage, then we're going to allow the client the option to say, you know what, I know we've been down this road, but that's changed so much, it's out of my budget, I'm going to have to back away. And we'll give them the option to do that. So in that scenario where a sub comes in and says, hey, you've really missed this. One, what I do love about that is like your subs actually become an extension of your assets and your tool, right? And so you think you've estimated it right, but your accuracy of dialing in on the perfect number and then what needs to get done, they help with that. Yeah. They come through and say, hey, you missed this, right? There's these three things make sense, but because I'm doing those three, I also need to do this. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even know that. Great, right? And I can go back to the client now, agree, like you said, kind of hat in hand of like, I'm sorry, I missed this, but it's going to have to get done. That means the price of the job is going to change. So if that means you need to walk away, I understand that, but I would rather be upfront with you than try and hit you in the back end. Yeah, right?
And rarely are we seeing people price it and just miss that big. Usually it's like, oh, I didn't think about the ceiling and the trim that also needs to get painted. I just quoted walls. You're right. To do all of this, I need $3,000 more. And then you go back to the client and say, hey, I totally messed up. I typed in walls instead of full interior paint, even though it's like you can not make up, but identify where you didn't have the details in your first estimate. And say, so this is the difference. If we want all that done, I'm so sorry. Like, let's talk about this. Let's see if there's other places we can sacrifice because I know you had a budget. Whatever it is, I want to have that conversation today because that protects my money and reputation, even though the customer might not be happy. At least I'm not hitting them. And I say that, I've said that before to the clients. When I've had this conversation, it doesn't happen a lot, but when you do, I can say, listen, most contractors get going, get done, and at the end of the job, hit you with this $3,000 change order.
Right.
I don't do that. We put it in paper that we're not going to be that guy. I would rather come to you and chance losing this job to not hit you with a change order than to just tie your hands by us starting the job and getting it done. So it's totally up to you. And you say that to them, they're like, I appreciate that, Clark. Thanks so much. Go ahead. I approve it.
Because trust is a valuable commodity to the clients, right? So one of the things that I used to do when it came to work orders is, knowing and understanding your subs, a way that, I created a little bit of, protection in this spot to make sure that I didn't blow out my budget of money, is that I would build my estimate out on here's the numbers that I need to hit for labor and materials to hit this percentage profit, right? And then whatever the line items are, let's say they totaled up to 3,000. My crew that I'm going to send that to, if I know that he's a negotiator, that's his thing. He likes it. I know that if I send him something, he's going to come back and go, oh man, I need a little bit more, right? And I know that about him, right? I know that I can't go over 3,000 because that's going to put me in a bad spot and I'm not going to make the money I need. So I would send him a work order for $2,500, right? Knowing he's going to negotiate. And most of the time, especially the one guy that I did this a lot with, he didn't really care what he got paid. He just wanted to feel like he got a little bit more out of me, right? Which I'm fine with. So I'd send him one at $2,500. He'd come back and say he needs 4. And I'd say, man, come on, man, come on. And he'd come back and we'd end up, at $27,500, right? I'm still saving a little bit of cash, or I might go all the way up to 3. But that protected me, because that's what guys are going to do. That if I send my max dollar out on a work order to a guy, a lot of them are going to come back and say, I'm going to need more money. And it's not really justified that I can go back to my client for $250, right? So I put that in, I planned for that. And my guy was super happy. I felt comfortable. I'm still paying him fair. And if at the end of the job, everything went great and I didn't, I had plenty of money left over, if I wanted to, I could increase it up to 3 and say, hey man, you did a killer job. I threw an extra $250 on there.
Well, and that's Jared's getting into the next thing we're going to talk about is building your bank. And
I'm getting ahead of us.
You're getting right. No, you're stepping right into where we're going. Building a bank. So with what Jared's saying is exactly how we want to build a bank for your job. Now we kind of hack the software this way when we're building estimates, and we put a line item on the job and we hide it from client and we keep it as the bank. And so let's say with Jared's example, I've got 5 line items. He selects all 5 line items and he says assign to crew, and he looks at it and it says $3,000. There is one button in the software a lot of people don't know about. It's called adjust labor.
Yep.
If I selected 5 line items and I said adjust labor, it's going to say, hey, these 5 add up to $3,000. If I change it to $2,500 at the bottom, it's going to automatically disperse it throughout.
Evenly distributes between based on the profit amount. Yep.
Yeah, throughout those 5 line items. So they all drop from 30 to 25%, or
Right.
whatever it is. They all drop equally, so the profit percentage is the same across the board.
Right.
That being said, I then go to a new line item and have a $500 cost that I'm going to expect to pay out. And I hide it from client. There's no charge for the client, but
Yeah.
I'm expecting to spend $500 extra dollars.
Yep.
I call that my bank. I assign the work to that crew. They've got the $2,500 work order. They look at it. They say, yep, that's great. This is good for $2,500.
Yep.
They do the work. At the end of the job, I've got $500 there I'm expecting to spend. I could have spent it on the electrician, on overages of materials, or I could just delete that line item and my profit
Run it
just
straight to profit.
jumped up at $500. So that way I've got this little banking system internally to where I can maybe, I know the guy can do it for $3. I'm going to put it at $2,500. Maybe he thinks that's a great price.
Yep.
And so that way I can be healthy on my expenses and expectations of labor, drop it down, hold that money as cash, and kind of use it as my buffer for the job.
Yeah.
That is a great way to protect if you don't feel confident in your numbers. That
Yep.
way I know, I'm going to go ahead and build a bank in of $1,000 and I make sure that my profit number still hits the same. You can start that way, build an estimate with that bank in it. Now it's in from the client, it's just expenses, but that means at the end of the job, I want to be at 30% profit. Well, maybe every line item's at 35%, but I got a $1,000 bank with no charge to client. That's going to end up dropping my final profitability down to 30%.
Right.
Everything's good. Everyone's happy. And I've got some buffer into the job to work with my work orders and my subs. So that's kind of the work order side, the sub side, managing what I'm spending, making sure I'm only spending what I've already preset, and having my subs and vendors help me make sure that my pricing is accurate before they accept the job.
Well, and it helps keep make sure that your costs don't get out of control.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It allows you to stay in control of those with a documented work order. So they don't get out of control. And then you're, well, crap,
Yep.
I thought I priced it right. Like, no, you did price it right. You just let your guys run all over you.
That's right. So that's how we protect the money going out. So now let's flip to the other side, money coming in with the clients, the client engagement, how we handle that to protect ourselves on an estimate if I miss something.
Yep.
So on the CEA, the client engagement agreement conversation, we start with every client by telling them, listen, there's going to be 3 revisions to your estimate. So the very first estimate I send you is going to be your desk estimate. And that desk estimate is going to be just a general list of everything. And if you haven't heard of our desk estimates, go back. There's plenty of podcasts.
episodes,
There's a podcast solely about desk estimates. But we're putting together a list of what we think needs to be done and very round numbers. You want new cabinets? All right. Do you want off the shelf, RTA, or custom? Let me tell you the different price points. We're at $6,000, $12,000, and $30,000. And let me tell you what the differences are. And so I'm going through getting these numbers put together. I'm going through getting my scope of work put together of what I'm doing. And that's my desk estimate. And that's the one a lot of guys have trouble with because they're not good at pulling numbers out of their head. You get better and better the more you do these, but at the same time, take the time to do it the right way to have some ballpark numbers. And if I present it to the customer, hey, these numbers are going to go up and down once I get on site and measure. I'm just trying to get a scope put together so when I show up for my estimate, I kind of know what's going on. I'm all organized, and we can start talking about your project instead of me being a note taker.
Yeah. Well, and you can, in that spot, if you don't know, you can call your HVAC guy and say, hey, I've got 2 2-ton units and we need to reroute, most of the ductwork.
Or you might not even know that.
Right.
Maybe it's like, hey, it's a house. I know it's old HVAC. How much? It's like a 3,000 square foot house, upstairs, downstairs. What are you thinking? And they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You'll probably need 2 units. One's going to be 2 ton. One's going to be 2.5, 3 ton for the main level.
Yeah.
So you're looking at X, Y, and Z. So combined, you should be around this.
Yeah.
5 minutes on the phone with your HVAC guy, you've got your ballpark.
And then
for that.
you plug that into the software. Let's say you said $9,000. You plug a 15% profit on that, and then you've got a dollar amount.
And you save it as a preset.
That's right.
It's a template. So
That's right.
whenever, moving forward, you search HVAC and you've got your preset pricing already there for that desk estimate.
That's right.
So that's our desk estimate that we talk with the client. Then we say the order of operations for us is we'll do a desk estimate. We'll come out and visit on site, look at the job, take notes, get to understand exactly the project you're looking for, and we're going to do what we call a site estimate and site revisions, where we'll come in, revise the desk estimate, and that will be the second of three, which is going to be your site estimate.
Yep.
That is going to have a refined number on it. It's going to be a lot more refined as to what we're doing once I understand the space. We're not going to have the deep level of details of finishes.
Right.
I'm not going to have exact numbers on some of these items. And let me tell you why. And this is for a larger renovation or new build. We don't do walking through with all of our vendors before we get a signature. What we do is the third estimate is what we call our MEP walks, and that's when I walk the project with our mechanicals, our electricians, our plumbers, all of the people that are specialty to your job. The price is going to change depending on what we want. And so our site visit estimate is going to be a very tight ballpark.
Yeah.
It's not going to be 100%
I'm
accurate.
adding in accurate measurements,
Yep.
quantities and all of that stuff.
Yep. And I want you to know that site estimate is going to be the hybrid between the desk estimate and our final signed agreement. Once you're happy with that and you feel we're in the ballpark, we want a signature and we're going to start pre-construction work. During pre-construction, there will be one more revision of this estimate when I get every penny tied to every single line item.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking my HVAC guy through. We're getting questions about what type of registers you want. Are we going to be doing this? Or we want that? Do we want some sort of air purifying system? All of those things that will affect your price, we want to hone in on this MEP walk, revision, final estimate.
Yeah.
So we explain that process to the customer up front where they understand the first and the second estimates are estimates of what the cost is going to be.
True estimates, yeah.
And the third one is going to be more of your quote set in stone outside of changes.
And what I love about that is, when we're talking about protecting against mistakes, we gather the information from the client to start with, right? On the desk estimate piece of it. So we're asking the client, spell out a list with us of what you want done. Right? Then we build that in the software. And before we go and set up a site estimate, we are getting on the phone, either on a Zoom call or whatever, and we're going through line by line on the desk estimate. They are round numbers. So we're getting an idea, is the price around what you think? But also more importantly, when you're talking about protecting against mistakes, here's all the line items that I have heard that you want done. Does this estimate represent what you're asking for? Yep. Yeah, but I don't see anything about the roof. I mentioned something about roof in there. Oh, yeah,
Let me
right?
put that on.
You add the roof in there. Simultaneously, same thing. When you do the site estimate, you're doing the same thing. You're walking through, you're getting the details, you're getting the information. You're allowing the client to be your assistant and making sure you're not missing any details. And then you've got a third one when you sit down with them with the before, when we're ready to get signatures and we're going to do the CEA, we're going through line by line because the CEA says if it's not on this estimate, it's not getting done.
Yeah.
So let's make sure everything that you want is represented on this estimate. So there's 3 times that there are multiple sets of eyes on this estimate. That is a place that's just going to help catch things that were missed, things that I forgot, things that, and you're also reviewing it multiple times. So maybe the first and second time you don't think about something, but that third time you're like, crap, I've been so hyper-focused in this thing. I totally forgot to put cleaning on here.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that second, third reviews and 2 sets of eyes on it helps make sure that you don't miss really important details that'll cost you in the back end of the job.
Yeah. That's why we have our head of construction / GM do the front end estimate, desk estimate, and then it passes to a project manager who's doing the on-site estimate for a second set of eyes. And then it goes back for a final look from your head of construction that says, okay, let me look at what's going on here. Oh yeah, what about this? What about this? Help me understand this. That way you have 2 different, now not everyone has that luxury of multiple eyes on it, but still being able to take a fresh look, understanding of it, and seeing it the way that you're saying allows you to try and catch stuff that doesn't happen.
That's right.
Now, if you don't catch stuff that doesn't happen, the next part that we have in our client engagement agreement.
What is a change order?
Is change orders. And so we explain in the client engagement agreement the different types of change orders, how they happen, why they happen. We don't like them happening. But everything that we're saying, if you can listen to what Jared just said and what we've been saying, I am your advocate and leader. I'm your representative. I am not your enemy.
Yeah.
So help me look at this. Hey, let's both look over to this, get your eyes on it, make sure we haven't missed anything. Let me go work with the crews to get their final pricing. I am running every part of the conversation like we are a team, and I'm the team leader here, not a me versus you. This is my bid, take it or leave it.
Right.
And so then we sit down and talk about the change orders and say, all right.
How
Mr.
are these
Client,
numbers going to change as we move forward?
There's 3 types of change orders, Mr. Client. There's the client generated, the contractor generated, and the government generated. Those are the 3 that we kind of group it in. Homeowner generated, client generated.
They upgrade the chandelier to something expensive.
Now that I'm standing here, it'd be great if we knocked a hole in this wall. Great.
Yep.
That's going to be a change order. To do that, it's going to cost this, this, and this. And this is where I also explain a change order once we start is way more expensive than right now when we understand it.
Potentially, yeah.
I might have orders already placed. I might have guys started that might need to change. We might be past the demo stage, and now we got to redo some more demo.
Right.
So we explain that type of change order, what it entails, how it happens. The second type is the contractor generated.
Right.
I open up a wall. There's termites in the wall. I'm going to stop and call you and say, hey, client, there's termites in this wall. We got to rebuild it. It's going to be X amount of dollars.
Right.
I need a change order approved. I don't mention this, but this is where the client generated, like, hey, I'm looking at the quote. We never put quarter round on here. I missed that, but it's still, you're not paying for it. It's not priced on here, so that needs to be a change order.
Yep.
They don't like that, but that is a contractor generated. I don't talk about this during the CEA, but that's where that fits into. And that type of conversation is, hey, I'm looking at this. I didn't charge you anywhere for quarter round, but I know you need quarter round, so I'm going to have to put a line item for it, is the way I phrase it. Not, hey, there's no quarter round on here. It's, hey, you're not being charged for it currently, so we need to charge for it.
Right.
And then the last one is a government one. If you have a home inspector walks through the property and says, hey, we need these 3 outlets changed to GFCI. Great. Okay, we'll get that done. But again, that's a CO that the homeowner has we also explain the differences of different inspectors and different municipalities and how everyone's different. And you have 3 inspectors come through the house in a row, all find different things.
Find different stuff. That's
we talk about that because that's a spot that I've had the finger pointed at me of like, well, you're the contractor. You should know what the inspector is going to find. And I always say, listen, if we want a price for what the inspector, I need to add about $100,000,
right?
Because they can want anything, and we can take 6 months and go to court and fight them on it, or we can just do it for $1,000 and get over it. Right. And so kind of the expectation setting with those type of change orders of how the variances can happen along a job in their pricing. Yeah. So after that, once we have the paperwork with our vendor set up, with our conversation of onboarding, this is how you accept jobs and prices don't change after you accept a job. The conversation with the homeowner, I need you to look at the quotes. This is how change orders happen. The last thing I'd like to put into place is preset line item protection, right? So when you're building your line items, I want you to start saving them as templates. When you build a line item, there's a box that says save this as a preset. You click on that, it will be a template forever in your software that you can go in and edit later, you can use forever. But what I like to see in those are protecting the my word versus yours. Me versus you as a client. No, that's not what you said. That is what I said. I thought we agreed to. I assumed that you were doing this. All of that stuff we need to get rid of. All of those type of sentences need to be gone out of the vernacular when I'm talking with the customer. So all of my preset line items, what I want is this includes blah, 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 blah. This doesn't include blah, 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 blah. A
good example of that, and we use this all the time, but a line item for installing LVL flooring or LVP flooring. The bottom of that says this does not include shoe molding or crown or quarter round or whatever it is. And there should be another line item for that cost. Right? If there's not, and if that line item wasn't in there, install flooring, well, you had to remove it, so I assumed you were going to put it back. You're like, well, no, because we've got to buy all new wood, and we've got to caulk it and paint it and cure it and all this stuff. it's an additional cost. Well, I assumed it was a part of the flooring install. Well, if you don't have the verbiage in there that this includes the flooring, it does not include the shoe mold or quarter round, right? That's the thing that helps protect you because if it's not there, it literally is the client saying, well, I mean, it should be. And you're like, well, it doesn't. Well, it should be. It's the flooring. It's covered in the flooring. It should be. And it's your word versus theirs. And at the end of the day, you lose if you try and win that argument.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have something to back it up, they may be disappointed. Right. But if you have something to back it up that says, yeah, you're right. I forgot to put a line item in there for it, but you can see very clearly this line item says this is flooring only. It does not include shoe mold. Right. They're disappointed. They're like, crap. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But they're much more willing to say, okay, all right, that's fine. Add that in because you have something to back up what you're saying, not just, because if you don't have something to back it up, what's to say you're not just coming up with stuff to screw them? You know, I mean, they don't know.
As soon as you bring that stuff up, you're already losing, right? As soon as I say, hey, that wasn't captured on here, you need to pay that. Even if you fight with me and I'm like, fine, I'll just eat it. You now don't trust me. You think fine, I beat Clark, I beat the contractor.
When's the next time he's going to try and beat me out of some money?
Exactly. So I think that's part of it. The other thing that I love having in these presets are materials and selection. So a great example is tile. I'll say, hey, this in my tile quote, this includes $2 per square foot for tile. That means you can pick out something less, you can pick out something more. That's the cheap base grade stuff that we're using that's preset.
But you can't pick out the $8 stuff and expect me to install it for that price.
Or paint. This includes Sherwin-Williams ProMar 200. Now, if we were on site and you're like, I really love Emerald. Have you guys heard of that? It's Sherwin-Williams higher end. I'm like, yeah, that's a great paint, but I forget to add on an upgraded paint charge. That's expensive upgrade to go from ProMar 200 to Emerald on a full house paint. And so I can say, hey, I know we did discuss that, but look, I'd never charge you for that. And that's more money than what was charged. It's like saying, if you're at a restaurant and the waiter comes over and says, hey, look, see how I wrote hamburger on your bill and you ordered a steak, so I need an extra $10 because there's a difference in what I thought we were giving you and what you ordered. Great. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't pay for the hamburger. I need to pay for the steak. Right. But you've got the evidence that I've charged you this amount for what you were getting.
That's right.
So all of those presets, what I like is the stuff you are doing and are not doing. So in my paint line, I want this includes a ProMar 200. This includes X, Y, and Z. This does not include closets. This does not include basements or rooms outside of the main level. This does not include exterior. It does not include doors. I want to put all that on there as a preset, and then I can delete it out and say, yes, it does include that. But I'd rather have my bases covered to where everything's not included, and I'm telling you that now. And then if you catch and say, I thought we talked about doors. Oh, you're right. Let me delete that line out of here. That is included in this price.
Well, and we've also used the software, to we'll build out a line item, but we'll also put a note on that line item that at the front of it says delete before saving, but it's a note that says, don't forget to add in cleaning. Don't forget to add in this. It's just a reminder that when I drop that line item into an estimate, it's a spot in there like, oh yeah, let me do that. And you delete that line item out or that sentence out and you add that thing. Just a helpful reminder. Then that goes along with the reason why we're not saying, make sure to build your line items out with these kind of details, but we're saying build your presets out that way. When you're building line items, a lot of times, like we've said before, you're trying to build an estimate and get it out as quickly as possible. And a lot of guys are doing it first thing in the morning. They're rushing through it. They're doing it late at night, and your brain is not as crisp in that moment, and you're more likely to miss, dang, I forgot to type in, this does not include, right? So when you're building preset line items, just like when you're building email templates, you're taking the space while you've got it to spell it all out, think all the way through it. Take the 5 minutes to build a line item and make it a really nice, robust, all the information, save it. Now it's done.
The next 100 estimates, you can use that same line and you don't have to build it out.
That's right. So
those are the main two sides that we protect ourselves against. Really, there's only 2 times that I'm losing when I'm on an estimate from the estimate. The first time is when I've overpaid a crew, or a crew does something. Maybe I haven't overpaid them, but they've done more damage than good, to where maybe they're halfway through, I pay them for halfway, then all of a sudden they do worse damage to the house, and it's going to cost me more than the final 50% to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose on that. I'm going to lose on that line. But what I don't want to do is be paid out at 90% and still have half of the job done. Then I'm going to double lose.
Yeah. Well, and to be perfectly honest, even if you're even on your pay with that guy, but you've got to exit a guy out and bring somebody else in, anybody who's good at their job is going to come in, and let's say there was $5,000 for that line item, you've paid $2,500, you're not going to get the remainder of that work done for $2,500.
Yeah.
Anybody's going to come in and say, hey, I need to back what he's done up a little bit to investigate and make sure, did he install the sheetrock correctly? Is the electrical connected correctly? I need to do some of that. So it's going to cost you more either way you look at it.
Yep. So that's one spot that you're still going to lose, but we want to avoid it by paying slowly, paying with work getting done. The other spot you're going to lose is when you are covering COs due to your bad language or inaccurate numbers. It's the hard spot that I've been in before is when I quote 200 square feet for tile,
right,
and we need 300 square feet, and they're like, you had access to the bathroom, you measured it,
right,
you put a number on there, I didn't go measure and check. Now you're raising the price by 50%.
Right.
That's not fair.
It also the severity of that conversation depends on where the job is.
Yeah.
Right. If you're at the beginning of the job, it's a conversation that still sucks. You kind of look like a buffoon, but hey, I put the wrong numbers in here. Right.
Well, and
but if you're 3/4 of the way through the job and you're like, I don't have enough money to pay my guys because I didn't charge enough on this line item because I only put 200 versus 300. You're up the creek.
And if you are being proactive instead of reactive, which means week 1, I'm ordering all my materials.
Yeah.
And I start ordering the tile, and my tile guy, I'm like, hey, give me the final numbers. Let's talk about it. Let's walk it. I'm doing my MEP walks. Maybe my tile guy's looking at what he's doing. That's where I'm catching that stuff.
Yep.
But if I'm reactively just ordering stuff as we go, not getting crews information until they start that week, then I'm being a lot more reactive and bringing bad news at the end of the job to the customer.
Right.
So those are some areas that you want to avoid are those losses, right, and making sure that we capture that stuff. But again, the CEA conversation allows you to have the verbiage with the customer throughout the job of, hey, remember you were supposed to do this. Hey, this was here. This is oh man, I got some bad news for us. This is why we need an extra $2,000 because this wasn't captured on here. And you're right, we did talk about it, but that's why I asked you to review these quotes.
Right.
Because there's some things that if it's missing on here, I don't have a way to assign it to a crew. Right. And we talked through how work orders are assigned to our crews and our labor. And it allows us to be part of the bad news with the customer as opposed to the bearer of bad news. But like, hey, let's fix this together.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think that, at the end of the day, going along with our last podcast paired in with this one, these are all things to help you get your numbers as accurate to what you need to survive as a company, and compensate and stack the deck in your favor for when there's mistakes, because there's going to be. The goal is that if I can win 9 out of 10 jobs, they go well, my money works fine, I didn't have any problems or major issues, and one of those goes bad and I lost some money because I missed something on an estimate or whatever. If you can get to that space, you're doing really, really well. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be things that cause loss of money that just happen in this business. But these things that we've gone over from the last podcast and this one are really going to help you dial that in and protect yourself so that you're making money and you're moving forward with cash versus always going back and saying, well, how do I have $0 in my account?
That's right. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to talk to us about how to better create estimates, we'd love to chat with you. If you want help with the software on how to create presets and deal with labor payments, hit us up on the contact us page or go to the software. Inside the software, you can contact us as well. By hitting the little question mark at the bottom. We'd love to chat with you, help you out, hop on a Zoom if you need help with anything. And if you want any coaching, want to talk with us about what that looks like, or come to one of our boot camps, a 12-week boot camp that's super inexpensive. It really help get your foundations for
Dial in your
company
base fundamentals.
put together.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you there. So check us out, prostruct360.com. Hit us up at the contact us. All right. Thank you guys. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.